Hello, I'm David. The Japanese say we have three faces: the face we show the world, the face we show close friends and family, and the face no one sees. For me, I don't think this is the first two. For me, those faces are much more outwardly happy. And I'm not really sure this would be the third face, per se. So maybe I have four faces. Today, I want to try and talk about the concept of what we do in life echoes through time. And I try to remind myself to leave something good behind. I try to live today under the assumption that even if no one notices or cares right now, someday what I do will have a positive impact and influence on someone and matter. Who I am and what I do, I hope, will have some sort of positive influence that leaves a lasting impact in someone's life. I try to help people. I try to share what I know in the belief that if I can be better and do better, and I can help those around me also be better and do better, that together we all get better. However, outside of work and my kids these days, I really don't have many people around me. So that's kind of me, I guess, setting the table for the larger concept that I want to talk about today. My daughter is 14, and she is a freshman in high school now. And it's been a little over a month ago that she was feeling dejected and frustrated. She was having a tough time with family, school, and life in general. And obviously I knew she was going through a difficult time or stage in life. And having gone through the teenage years myself, I think that was a part of it. It is, at times, hard being that age, but personally I think there's probably some other element to it as well. Most of the time during the school year, my daughter lives with my ex-wife. And my ex-wife's family has always been very pessimistic and negative. They avoid disagreements, and if you challenge their way of thinking, it is seen as betrayal. And that environment, I believe, takes some kind of toll on my children. Myself, I was around them as little as I had to be for about a decade, and personally I found their whole sort of interaction together and their worldview and ideology sort of taxing and taking a toll on me as well. I found it to be suffocating, even in small doses. So, personally, I had a very different upbringing. In my own family, I was raised to question things, to argue ideas, to discuss current events, topics, religion, politics openly. And no one was mad at you for thinking something or asking questions or expressing opinions. We just talked about stuff, and it didn't upset anyone. And that kind of environment and upbringing is still something I value myself today. And I wish it was something that my own kids could experience in life more, rather than the environment which I know they spend more time in with my ex-wife. So anyway, after my daughter had kind of expressed frustration with life, I talked with her, and we just talked about life family in general, and what we're all doing here in the world and in life, both generally and more specifically to our own situations. And I shared with her a story about my late uncle, someone who I think played a big part in my own family's kind of history or legacy or whatever, and in some part, more specifically, helped shape who I am personally as an individual. My uncle started from humble beginnings in a small town in Northern California in the Sierra Nevada foothills of California, but ultimately went on to become a naval officer. And he survived an attack from a Japanese Zero, which hit his ship and was very close to killing him. He flew planes during the war, and he graduated from MIT. And he did all sorts of things along the way over the course of his 80-plus-year-old life. And in some way, I suppose, he helped save the world. Or, at least, that is what the history books say, generally, about him and about the time period in which he existed in the war as a naval officer. But really more than that kind of, veneer to his life. We talked about beyond his career and what he did in whatever part for the world at large. We just talked about my uncle as who he was as a person, who I knew him to be, his intellect and kindness and dry humor. How I saw him as a beacon of hope for our family. And how he led a life and left some kind of mark on history and the world. And not just about that, but how he treated the people around him, the people he loved and cared about. And personally, how I think he helped make me a better person. And I wanted my daughter to know that she comes from a family that is capable of more. I have some old pictures and scrapbooks and memorabilia of my uncle, and we looked at his accomplishments and mentions throughout history. And she was surprised to see all of the things about his life and that we're all related relatives. And honestly, regardless of all that stuff, I think generally us as people, whoever we are, I think we're all frankly capable of more in life, of being better, being kinder, and doing things that leave good impressions in the world. We just don't do it as often as we could be. So anyway, since that conversation with my daughter, I have seen her be more optimistic, and she has opened up more, and she said something like, I never imagined we had relatives like that. So I don't know, obviously everything that my daughter is thinking or exactly what kind of impact talking to her about my uncle conveyed to her or did for her. But it seems to have spurred or inspired within her some kind of belief that life is not as bad as she might think it is. So recently I took my daughter and her brother to one of her band competitions, and since the conversation, she seemed more engaged and excited and happier in general. And during the most recent band competition, her band, it's a marching band in high school, they actually ended up winning the competition. And we all went out together and had a family dinner at a family restaurant. And overall, the whole experience and the weekend and everything was good. It was a pretty good time together. And she was actually happy and proud to have me there watching her and recording the performance and taking pictures and talking to teachers and whatever, just people in the crowd. She was just very happy for everything that went on and having me there. So I try to do the best I can, whatever the hell that means. Even if nobody notices, even if the world around us doesn't really care, I hope what I do today will have a positive impact and inspire my kids in some way, at least for their own lives and their own future. But unfortunately in life, you can't make people understand who you are or think good things about you or view you through a good lens. And not everyone in life sees me through a good lens. Not everyone believes I'm a good person or that I'm a good father. Some people tell me I'm a terrible father. I'm a terrible person. I'm incapable of parenting. And I myself am more childlike and should have had better parenting. So some days I don't know. For example, one of these people would be my ex-wife. She does not have a very high opinion of me. In fact, she has made it clear in various appearances in court hearings or court trials that I am a very awful person. So I want to share with you a couple of quotes from court trial appearances that kind of sum up my ex-wife's opinion of me as maybe a person and a father, let's say, or a parent. And there's a large amount of these, so I just picked a couple which kind of grate at me even years later. So here's the first one. Our lives would be better if David just paid child support and never saw our children again. Our children love their father and want to spend more time with him. I don't understand why. So, as you might imagine, these words make me very angry. And even years later, which at this point is probably 4 or 5 years later since hearing these particular words and seeing them in court transcripts and documents, they make me angrier than ever. And here I am 6 years later, just angry, just more angry than I've ever been. Because they're hurtful and they paint a picture of me that I think is not true. But you can't force somebody to view you a particular way. You can't force someone to believe you. You can't force someone to think positively of you. And you can't force anybody to understand you or be kind to you. And you can't force anybody, really, to even do the right thing or the better thing or the thing that would be, a win-win for everybody involved. You can't force anybody to do a damn thing. So, anyway, can't control stuff. Can't control it. The things I do have control of, and what I can do, I guess, is I can try and focus on a positive relationship with my children. I can try and keep doing what I believe to be right. And I can keep trying to leave some kind of a positive mark or influence on the lives of my children. At least in my view, my daughter's attitude has changed since we talked about family history and my uncle. She seems to be more optimistic and more engaged, and at least to me, that matters to some degree. And I hope it matters to my children. And I spent a lot of time lately thinking about my uncle. And the fact that I lost him almost 20 years ago, and even though he's not still here, he does help me in life sometimes, strangely enough. And this year, he even helped my daughter too. So, if my uncle endured all of the crap and wars and a kamikaze attack, I suppose if my lot in life is to endure and survive some kind of negativity and petty treatment from people around me, I can somehow find a way to do that. And I never really know if I'm doing anything that matters, or what I do, how it will matter or make a difference in any way at all. I do know I want my kids to see that they can push back against negativity in life, against low expectations of people around them, and that they can at least strive for something better, being better and doing better, and going somewhere better, having a better perspective or mindset. The part that kind of eats away at me, though, is I have not received a chance in life to save my children from everything, from all of the ills and troubles of the world. But I try and hope I can still inspire them to dream of more, think freely, and live their lives more fully. And I hope, in some way, sharing my uncle's story with my daughter about perseverance and struggle can help change her life for the better. And I hope that by showing my kids ways in which they can push back against low expectations, that they'll find a way to believe in their own strength and try and strive for more in life. We don't have to win every battle in life, but we do have to try and win the battles in life that matter more than others, and try and inspire those around us to keep fighting for a better day and a better life.